It's Wednesday, July 19th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we're going to find out how the business community fared over the 4th of July weekend during our conversation with Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Wendy Northcross. Then the Cape Cod Regional Transit Authority will get a budget increase of about $3 million. We're going to find out why with Administrator Tom Kerr. And finally, we'll chat with Director of Planning and Development Elizabeth Jenkins. She's going to tell us about her department's efforts to update the town's open space and recreation plan. All of that on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. Cape Cod Healthcare will contribute another $30,000 to an important tick testing program. According to the Cape Cod Times, Cape residents can keep sending ticks to the University of Massachusetts at a reduced rate of $15. Without the donation, testing would have cost residents about $100. To learn more about the program or find out how to have a tick tested, you can visit capecodextension.org. Town Council will consider fixing $1.8 million or spending $1.8 million to repair 3 private roads in Austral. The roads under construction, under consideration for repair include Plum Hill Road, Smoke Valley Road, Ice Valley Road, and Fox Island Road. The council will also consider spending $163,000 in community preservation funds to improve the Centerville Recreation Building. Town Council meets at 7 Thursday night in the Town Hall hearing room. That meeting will air live right here on Channel 18. The Site Plan Review Committee will consider a project to bring workforce housing to a historic district in Hyannis. The plan calls for 7 3-story multi-family housing buildings, 1 3-story building with 2 townhomes, and 1 building that would act as a community gathering space. The housing development would be located in the area known as Sea Captain's Row. That's along Pleasant and South Streets. Site Plan Review meets at 9 Thursday morning. Well, in case you missed it, Swim and Safety Week was held last week. The Recreation Division assists staff and beachgoers every year by hosting Swim and Safety Week. As part of Swim and Safety Week last week, town lifeguards hosted rescue demonstrations at various beaches across town. Veterans Beach head lifeguard Caroline Els says Swim and Safety Week is great practice for staff and helps beachgoers understand what goes into a rescue.
So the main reason that we hold Swim and Safety Week is so that the patrons on the beach can get familiar and comfortable with anything that we have to do here at the beach. So if we're doing first aid, if we're doing a peat rescue, board rescue, spinal, especially CPR, sometimes it's very different for people that are here on vacation or even the residents that have never seen anything like that before. So we hold Swim and Safety Week and we have someone narrate and tell everyone what's going on.
Up next, we'll chat with Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce President and CEO Wendy Northcross. So Wendy, over the 4th of July holiday weekend, I was sort of monitoring traffic. I didn't, of course, do an official count, but from the looks of things, it looked like we had a very, very successful holiday weekend. Are you hearing anything from local business owners?
You know, I'm hearing a little bit of a mixed bag, and certainly have heard that there seemed like the world was on Cape Cod for the 4th of July weekend, which was really, we think, started like on Wednesday the week before and went through Tuesday, Thursday, the week of. So, yeah, a lot of people here, but that's what we pray for. That's what we work for.
That's right, exactly. And every time I was dealing with traffic, I said to myself, this is so great for our economy. You know, listening to business owners is something you do all the time. Did they report back to you and let you know how successful their certain busy weekends are?
Well, we do hear from people directly, and then we do get data sets from the state. But I did hear from some folks. You know, we reached out especially because it seemed like it must have been off the charts, you know. So a couple of the hoteliers that I talked to actually reported that they had less than sold out conditions in, you know, for that 4th of July weekend, which is contrary to historical patterns. So they were a little bit nervous about that, and they had checked around. It's really easy to sort of check around now. They've always had a call system where they'll call some of the major competitors, quite honestly, but they want to know who has availability, because if someone walks up to the front desk and they're sold out, they want to know who they can send folks to, and they found that a lot of people had availability. And they also found that there was a lot of postings on those online home rental sites. So not to pick on one because there's many, but we think that there was probably for the first time ever a glut of rentals by the night for homes, and that may have affected the pattern a little bit.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that because that really is a trend that continues to grow. So more and more people are using sites like HomeAway or, the other sites. I can't recall the name of some of the sites, but it seems like more and more people will be taking advantage of that. Is there anything hotels can do to kind of counteract that?
Well, the one thing that they do in general is they've always looked at what the going rate is for hotel rooms or B&B rooms, and they'll try to moderate their rate. If they think they're charging too much, they'll drop it because they see that the competition has got a lower rate. And that, in fact, is what they saw, especially on some of the home rental sites. This is We Need a Vacation, Airbnb, VRBO, HomeAway. For example, there was a 3-bedroom home in Orleans that was listed for $205 a night, and I know some of the hotels were charging far more than that during the peak weekend. So the comment back to me was, we're going to have to adjust our rates, and that's going to, in fact, change the tax receipts because, those hotels pay taxes that are collected from their customer, but the homes don't. So it's just something to watch. And I think last year was when we really saw the tipping point with that home rental phenomenon versus the traditional lodging phenomenon. So we've been watching it pretty closely.
And interesting too, I know the joint committee with the State House actually recently held a hearing on this issue of the taxation of these for rent homes, like on HomeAway.com. Are you weighing in as a Chamber of Commerce on how you think this legislation should go through?
Yes, definitely. There was a hearing back in June, I think June 12, at Barnstable Town Hall in the hearing room there, and it was packed with people on both sides of the issue. We know that the home rental phenomenon is not going away. We know it's really popular. It makes a lot of sense if you have a family. If you want to share, a rental with friends and cousins and that kind of thing. And the Cape has been doing that for generations. People will come to the Cape, rent a cottage for the week, 2 weeks, a month. But I think what's different now is that per-night rental phenomenon, and the online facilitation has made it so easy for consumers. So we actually came down on the side of, we think there should be a level playing field. And if hotels, motels, and B&Bs, which are highly regulated and have to get a lot of licenses and permits to operate from both the state and the towns, if they have to collect a tax, then why shouldn't a home rental transaction have to collect a tax too? Of course, that's not real popular with some homeowners, but what we know is at the end of the day, it's the customer that's paying that rate. If you don't rent it, you're not collecting a tax. So it's been a little bit of an interesting conversation. There's been some spirited discussion on both sides, but most of the states in the United States have gone this way. They have created sort of that level playing field, if you will, between that transaction, whether it's in a home or a hotel.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for discussing that with us. We really appreciate it. Also, I loved learning about how things went over the busy 4th of July weekend for local businesses here on Cape Cod. We really appreciate it, Wendy.
Thanks, Sarah.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Our guest today, CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, Wendy Northcross. Up next, we'll chat with Planning and Development Director Elizabeth Jenkins. So Elizabeth, you and your staff are working to update the town's open space and recreation plan. What is the open space and recreation plan?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Sarah. So the open space and recreation plan, it is a planning process that's really prescribed by the State Conservation and Recreation, and it allows communities to go through a process to look at its conserved open spaces and open spaces dedicated to recreational opportunities, and kind of take a comprehensive evaluation of opportunities, challenges, and goals as it relates to those spaces, how we use them, how we manage them, what is our policy for acquisition, and generally think about how open space provides how it fits into our overall land use framework.
You know, and so interesting too, I was reading about this process a little bit, and one of the things that it does is once the state approves our plan, it enables the town to apply for some really great grants when it comes to conservation.
It does. So conservation as well as park grants, recreational grants. So we've been successful in actually applying and receiving those grants before. We did the Ridgewood Park project here in Hyannis in the Tree Streets neighborhood with the park grants. So it's a process, and I think it's important we do that from a comprehensive planning perspective, because it gives us this opportunity periodically to have this community conversation about open space, but there are benefits to doing it as well.
Yeah, kind of take a stock of what we have now, where we're going in the future.
Right. Well,
how often does it have to be updated?
So we do it every 7 years now. It used to be 5. Now we do it every 7 years. But I mean, it is so important. Open space is such a critical component, especially to a community like Barnstable. I mean, our beaches, our open spaces, our trails are such a part of our identity, our quality of life, why people want to live here, why people want to enjoy Barnstable. So a really important planning process to go through.
Wonderful. And to do that, talk about the process that you are going through right now. I know there's a survey available to residents that they can fill out, and you've also held some meetings with some stakeholders. So talk to me a little bit about that process.
So where we're at in the update right now is we started to kind of do a technical review of the document, anything that needs to be updated, things that have changed over 7 years, you know, where have we made progress on the goals that we established last time, and where does the community stand right now in terms of its thoughts about open space challenges, what kind of new issues are emerging. So we're doing that overview right now. We do have the survey open. It's up on the website. I think it's still on the town homepage, 2017 Open Space and Recreation Survey. That'll be open through August 15th. So we really encourage everybody to take that. Certainly, if there are any young people out there listening, I think at last check we had very few people under the age of 25 that have taken it. So pass it on to your kids and grandkids. Encourage them to get involved in this process, because I think that is so important. We're doing some focus group meetings kind of with stakeholders who work in the fields of open space and recreation. We've had 2 so far, and a third one is going to be held on Thursday, July 27th, specifically around the topics of conservation, open space as it relates to conservation. So if you have kind of a technical perspective on open space, we encourage everybody to come to those focus groups. And then once we kind of get some goals and priorities, draft goals and priorities set out, we've been working with the Land Acquisition and Preservation Committee. That's one of their charges, is to work on the open space plan update. Then we'll do a big public forum so people can come out and again respond, identify things that we've missed, and help us set priorities and an action plan, you know, how we want to move forward over the next 7 years.
Wonderful. What's the timeline like? When do we have to have that draft in?
Well, we absolutely have to have our plan adopted by October. That's when our current time frame runs out, but we'd like to give ourselves plenty of time to get that done. So I think you should see that public meeting come late August or early September, and then you'll see it endorsed by the Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Town Council, and others.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for stopping by, telling us all about the process. We really appreciate it, and look forward to chatting with you again in the near future.
Great. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Our guest today, of course, Director of Planning and Development, Elizabeth Jenkins. Now we have a little bit of a change in plans. We're going to visit Australville Historical Museum and find out about all of the great things they have to offer. So Jennifer, thank you for having me here to the Australville Historical Museum. I'm so excited. I hate to say this, but this is actually the first time I've completely toured this facility here, and I am so impressed. There are so many things that we can learn about and see and really dive in to the history of Australville. So tell me a little bit about what you can see here, from the boatyard to the paintings inside.
Right. I think that's the great thing, that there's really something for everyone here. We have the largest collection of wooden boats in Massachusetts. We're proud to be the home of the Crosby boats. We have such a great exhibit and beautiful boats covering the legacy of the Crosby boat building traditions. And so that's part of our story. We also have our Captain Jonathan Parker Coastal Schooner Captain House right behind us. Gardens are maintained by the Australville Garden Club. And this year, for our rotating exhibits in the Parker House, We have the Lost Murals from Vernon Coleman, 3 beautiful murals that were discovered last year behind a false wall at the Katie's restaurant in Hyannis. And of course, Vernon Coleman was a WPA artist. He was a teacher here at the Austral Bay School and inspired so many people, whether it be through the Bay School as an art teacher, the murals that you'll see everywhere from Town Hall to St. John Paul High School. Just a great legacy, and capturing these murals and restoring them and saving them. They present beautiful snapshots of the town of Barnstable and the Cape Cod and the islands.
They really are, and you worked hard to bring these murals here. I know you already had one in the boat shop.
Yes.
And that's gorgeous. So you wanted to add to that. You approached the Katie's owners.
I did. So this is going back to last year, when there was a whole controversy about these beautiful murals being found behind the false wall in the restaurant. It was originally the Mayflower restaurant. And I did a little poking around and found the original murals one Saturday morning, and had the great fortune of working with the property owner who lives in Cotuit, and he very generously donated these murals to the museum. So now they are in, the 3 murals that we have are in the permanent collection of the museum. And we were also very fortunate to receive a grant to fund the restoration and conservation of these murals, as well as the installation of the exhibit here in the Parker House. And so these murals are breathtaking. I've seen them through the process of literally pieces of the wall being cut out to what they look like today. And thanks to Fraser Construction, who worked with us, they're master carpenters, creating the frames for these murals, and working with us along the process. Cape Cod Picture Framing and Restoration did an unbelievable job, and the murals are breathtaking. So
they are so beautiful, and I love the mural too that's in the boathouse. Talk to me a little bit about how, because you did say you have the largest collection of wooden boats in Massachusetts, which is quite a feat.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about how the boathouse came to be on this property.
So the boat shops are a series of sort of meandering boat shops that have grown through the years. Our latest addition is the Alan Van Winkle shed that we have. In the back of the boat houses, we have the Canib shed, which features a tribute to junior sailing. We feature everything from several cat boats to our own Weano Senior celebrating over 100 years. We have Beetle Cats, Weano Juniors, Crosby Curlews, various Crosby skiffs and wherries throughout the collection. And we also have a boat, the Gypsy, that is on the National Register. Beautiful turn-of-the-century design.
Yeah, built in 1901, I think.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful boats, and so cool that the history here in Osterville with the Crosby Yacht Yard.
Oh my gosh.
It's featured here.
Absolutely.
And we were talking too, tell me a little bit about the Camet House, because that's also on the property and something really interesting for people to check out.
Yes, the Camet House is actually the oldest house in Osterville, and I tell people that it came here to the museum to its forever home about 35 years ago. It originally was located on Main Street across from the Point Oil building. They're actually, the 2 houses are mirror images of themselves, and they almost formed the gateway into the village of Osterville at the time. The kitchen L that's on the back of the Camet House is in fact older than the main portion of the house. In that time period, it was easier to actually detach a part of a building and transport it rather than waste the raw materials of lumber and nails and such to start from scratch. The Camet House has a beehive oven, actually has a root cellar, and you can go into the basement of the Camet House to see those 1700s construction techniques. I often refer to it as my Dr. Seuss basement a bit, because you'll see really the tree trunks that are curved and twisty that are actually part of the foundation and part of what's the Camet House was built upon.
So neat. I love history, and I love local history. You were telling me too, one of the best days to come to the museum, which we should mention, the museum is free to attend. You do accept donations if anyone would like to donate, but it is free to come and check out the museum.
Absolutely.
And you said one of the best days to come
Oh my gosh.
during the summer
Yes.
is on the Farmers Market Day.
I was going to say Farmers Market Fridays are terrific because all the boat shops are open, the Parker House is open, the murals are available, as well as the Camet House. And we have over 20 vendors who are here at the museum, local farmers, small batch artisanal vendors, really unique items that you can't find anywhere else. And so it's a lovely time to support all of our local vendors and support that buy fresh, buy local Cape Cod tradition of really incorporating healthy local produce into your plan of life.
And I should ask you really quick, I know we don't have too much time left, but you are having an event that's going to feature some local artists here on the Cape coming up.
Yes, we have an event July 26th. It's called Art at the Museum, and it features 20 renowned Cape Cod fine artists. Joe McGurl, William Davis, Liz Mumford, Carol Wyckoff. I could go on and
Some
on.
really well-known artists here on the Cape.
Yes.
Well, thank you for telling us everything we need to know about visiting the Australville Historical Museum. I am going to now recommend everybody that comes to visit me to come check it out because it is an amazing facility. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for visiting. That's great.
Our guest today is Jennifer Williams. She is the executive director here at the Australville Historical Museum. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar with Megan Mamlock.
If you're looking for work and you're over the age of 50, a group at the Barnstable Senior Center might just help with your job search. The 50+ Job Seekers group can help you with coaching and networking. The group is free to attend, and the 50+ Job Seekers group meets every first and third Thursday of the month from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the Barnstable Senior Center. The Austral Farmers Market is open for the season. The Farmers Market is open every Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Australville Historical Museum. You can enjoy a free yoga class on the Hyannis Village Green every Thursday evening. All you need is a mat, towel, some water, and a free stretch. Yoga class begins at Thursday at 5:15 near the bandstand. All ages and abilities are welcome.
Here's a look at this week's board, committee, and commission meeting schedule. Well, thanks for tuning in today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show for you. On tomorrow's show, we'll chat with Town Council President Eric Steinhilber. He's going to fill us in on everything that's on the agenda for tomorrow night's Town Council meeting. And we'll check in with Town Manager Mark Ells. All of that and more for Barnstable Today. I'm Sarah Mantle.